Coverage continues tomorrow, only on Universal Sports.
The first genuine climbs of Tirreno Adriatico arrived on stage 4, and the race's defending champion was more than ready. Italian Michele Scarpone launched a vicious late-stage attack that no one could match. He rode away to the stage win and the overall race lead. He slipped on the blue jersey of overall race leader after a demonstrative performance into the Italian town of Chieti. And now with more climbing on the way in stage number 5, Scarpone is now playing defense as his team tries to protect the GC lead. Hi everyone and welcome to Tirreno Adriatico. Steve Schlanger, Todd Gogulski. It's day 5 of 7 of this Italian stage race, 216 kilometers from Chieti to Colmerano. And some of the heavy hitters were signing in earlier today in Chieti. We saw Tom Bonin a moment ago. There's Mark Cavendish, some of the sprinters sitting out the action in the last few days with the road going up so much. There's Fabian Cancellara, who's been quiet so far in Tirreno Adriatico. And this was the scene as they rolled off the start line. Still very chilly, but sunny skies, dry roads for the most part, which is quite a relief because of some of the rain we've already witnessed.
High mountains later on in the day for these guys with a lot of snow and a lot of cold, so it's still going to be a tough day even though it's sunny here at the start.
Casual rollout for this 216-kilometer stage that's actually been shortened from 234 kilometers, but the race today passing over Tirreno Adriatico's highest point in this year's edition, topping out at just over 5,000 feet. And this was the scene at kilometer 161 on the day. The Italian Marco Pinotti at 34 years of age, first over that climb along the snowline roads. He escaped from a group of 11 that was quickly on his back. They all bundled up as they went on to the descent. And now we take you through the map for today's stage number 5 that hugs the Adriatic coast, heading north before it turns inland for the finish in Colmerano.
Well, Steve, we got about 135 miles today. That climb we just saw Pinotti first over the top on, that was 10 miles in length. It's a Category 1, which is the second highest possible rating for a climb in cycling. And after that climb, they've got some ups and downs, but right at the end with 2 kilometers to go, there's an 800-meter wall, and that's exactly the type of finish that yesterday Scarpone pounced on and took the lead.
That maxes out at 20%. It's 15% most of the way. And it'll be very difficult finishing this stage number 5. Well, the GC, after 4 days of racing, finds Michele Scarpone with an 18-second lead, but he's got 26 seconds on Cadel Evans, also 24 on Stefano Garzelli, 2 of the primary GC threats that are on the first page of the leaderboard. And now we pick up the action in stage 5 with just about 35K left to go. And Marco Pinotti, the 34-year-old 4-time Italian national time trial champion, is still out by himself, but has just a few seconds over this group you're looking at right here. And this is what's left of the main field. They're bearing down on Pinotti, who you see in your picture right now, the HTC Columbia rider, but he's done the bulk of the work for his team and for his own ambitions already today by getting those points over the top of that climb, and now everybody else wanting to get into play as well.
And we just saw Pinotti's teammate Michael Rogers rolling through. He's one of the other GC favorites. There he is on the left side of your screen for HTC Columbia. He's going to have to be looking for opportunities today, and this is the perfect setup for him to have his teammate up the road. But we also have already seen in this group Garzelli a couple wheels back. He's another very heavy hitter for the overall.
Now, because of poor road conditions along the route today, due to inclement weather they've had here over the last couple of weeks, they did knock 18 kilometers off of today's stage. It was supposed to be 234 kilometers. It's been reduced to 216. Still a very difficult day, a lot of climbing. And there in the middle of your screen is Cadel Evans with the stripes of the world champion draped across his back. He's in the white kit otherwise, and Cadel, because he's still very much in the mix, within a half minute on GC, will probably have to make a serious move either today or tomorrow before time runs out.
It's really these next couple of days are where the overall battle will have to finish itself off, because the final day is flat and we really expect a field sprint. But you can see here Marco Pinotti up off the front. He's really taking it easy because he knows he cannot stay away all the way to the finish. And maybe he's got some friends on the motorcycle that they see from race to race and catching in. It's also a great time for him to check out some of the scenery because they usually don't get a chance to do much of that.
Now looking at a lot of snow right now, but this Part of the classic early season racing calendar. Anytime you're racing in March, no matter where it is, chances are you're going to see snow along the sides of the roads when you get to some of the bigger climbs. Pinotti first over the highest point in this year's Tirreno Adriatico that came earlier in today's stage. Now just waiting to be absorbed by the main field that's about to pick him up. And another look at Cadell. A lot of climbing today, more tomorrow before that flat finish on stage number 7. So time running thin in terms of the GC hopes of guys like an Evans or a Garzelli. Guys who hope to pull time back on the general classification. They're going to have to make a move pretty quickly. And also because of the fact there's no time trial in this year's Tirreno Adriatico, and that makes a guy who has GC aspirations, it makes him be more aggressive. It makes him go out and launch more attacks than they might otherwise do, because an Evans, who's such a good time trialist, he could otherwise just sit back, wait for the time trial, make his time there. But without a TT, he's got to launch attacks in the hills to take back that time.
That's right. In fact, we only have 2 days of racing after today, 7 days total in the race. We're on day number 5 here. And so really, it changes the complexity of the race. Without the time trial, they can't fall back on that strength, and they have to look for ways to make it happen instead of just doing it in the individual time trial.
A lot of times in a 7-day race, if there is a time trial, the better time trial riders will just sit back, lay in the weeds, wait for the TT to make their move. And now we have a move being made by the Euskaltel rider, JJ Oroz, the 29-year-old who's within a minute on the general classification. He's going by Pinotti and now is the lone race leader with under 35 kilometers left to go in a very hilly stage 5 at Tirreno Adriatico. 2006, launching the move on the descent to pass Marco Pinotti, who had been first over the day's big climb, but now it's Oroz in a very aerodynamic position, and another guy on the deck well behind him here on the side of the road.
Typically, we don't see service on the left side of the road because they always have an etiquette to give service on the right, but if a guy is crashed on the left, this is one of our Androni Giocattoli riders, and it looks like he's back up on his bike. Let's hope that he is not injured in that fall. Well, you know, tricky here because the road is predominantly dry, but there are going to be patches that are wet. There may even be some snow and ice here and there. And certainly the road is dirty because they've had all this weather. So you never know what you're going to come on when you come around the corner, what you're going to come upon.
Well, this guy, Oroz, of the Euskaltel team, just has a few seconds. Not a big lead right now. As the Androni rider, who looks like Serpa Perez, I believe, number 5, is he's trying to get back onto the back end of that main field, but it's going to be a long slog for him now. Banged up on the descent. And now we're coming up on the final 30K as the main field tries to hunt down this man. Well, for the guys like Cadell Evans, like Stefano Garzelli, like the big GC hopefuls, they'll be looking to make a move here. Even though we've already gone over the big climb today, there's still a lot of rolling terrain in these final 30 kilometers of racing, and in that final kilometer with that huge uphill to the finish that'll max out at 20% in terms of the gradient of the road, a lot of time can be made in that final kilometer alone. Then you factor in the time bonuses for the first 3 across the line at the finish. So a lot can happen, a lot of time can be won or lost in just the final kilometer today.
Yeah, and really the way we're going to see this play out is it's really going to be each rider looking at the dynamics of this front group, looking for an opportunity to try and attack Michele Scarponi when his team maybe is showing a little bit of weakness, and seeing if they can get away, whether that's here with 30 kilometers to go or whether that's down the road with 5 kilometers to go. Anybody who's looking for the overall victory is paying attention to everything that's going on around them at all times.
Single file at the front end of the main field. Aqua Esaponi leading the way. There is the leader, JJ Oroz of Euskaltel. And as far as the overall race leader, and that is Michele Scarponi, who's wearing the blue jersey. Last year when he won Tirreno Adriatico, he took the overall race lead on stage 6, so only had 1 day that he had to defend it. Now, here he is taking the lead on stage 4 this year. He has 3 days where he has to defend it. A much different dynamic, a different scenario. Does he have the team to do it? And does he need that team because he did look so good yesterday?
Well, he looked absolutely unstoppable yesterday. There's no doubt about it. He looks like he's the strongest guy in the race. His team has been really good up until now today, when they needed to be good, they kept the lead breakaway of 11 close enough to not be an issue, and they got absorbed once they got over the top of the big climb. So they continue to look very much in control. And right now, this is Vasil Kirienka. You may remember him from yesterday, trying to get away for the solo win at the end, but getting caught by Scarponi and a few of the other riders in those closing kilometers that were brutally steep. At any rate, I think Scarponi still looks very good, and his team has looked very solid.
Now, winter still maintaining its grip. Spring officially a week away, but snow-lined roads in this part of central Italy near the Adriatic Sea. The first 3 days of this 45th edition of the Race of the Two Seas was spent in Tuscany, then the long transfer to the eastern portion of the country. Finally getting to the second of the two seas, the Adriatic, going up the coast today and then back inland as today's route taking a northerly direction, and 20 seconds to Aroz from this main field.
Well, you may wonder why we're seeing so much of Vasil Kirienka on the front there for Kesteparn. It's probably because his teammate Rigoberto Urán is sitting in 5th place, only 24 seconds down in the overall, and he wants to ride for his teammate today.
Yeah, we've been mentioning Evans, Garzelli, some of the marquee names, but there's a lot of guys clustered there within a half minute of the overall lead on GC, so a lot of different things can happen, not only today, but in the final 3 days of racing here at Tirreno Adriatico. Tirreno Adriatico into stage 5 today, but Paris-Nice just wrapping up, as that race had been happening concurrently with Tirreno Adriatico, and Alberto Contador sealing the win, his second ever victory at Paris-Nice, the race to the sun. And Contador, for his part, now 2 for 2 in races this season. He's won both the races he's participated in. He's looked very good, and this coming after not much racing activity following last year's Tour de France win, so showing that he can be very good, he can be victorious without a lot of racing in his legs, and it's not a good sign for the peloton come July.
I think a lot of guys are scared of Contador in the overall, just like they're afraid of this man, Michele Scarponi, in the blue jersey back there. But right now, let's look at this man off the front just a little bit. This is JJ Oroz. They call him Juanjo, and one of the things about him, and you can see how dirty his face is here. Tough day at the office with the nasty conditions, but he has been a really sort of a type rider, but he's really more of a worker. And so he's not a guy that gets a lot of glory for himself, but a couple years back, he was the only rider in the peloton to complete the 5 monuments of cycling, which are 5 really big one-day races. Milan-San Remo, which we will be covering next weekend here on Universal Sports. Liège-Bastogne-Liège, Paris-Roubaix, Tour of Flanders, and then in the fall, Giro di Lombardia. So he's just typically a worker bee, and he's out there going for some glory here today. It's really nice to see him with some good legs. This is Van Summeren riding second wheel there, the really tall man in the Garmin colors. And as we pan to the front, some of our Katusha riders up here as well. And that is Luca Mazzanti that we're looking at right now with just under 20 kilometers to go, the Italian on the Russian team.
Beautiful sights in this part of Italy, and really, where can't you go in Italy without finding some beautiful sights? Whether it was in Tuscany where the race began, along the Adriatic coast, north, south, you name it. Italy, a terrific place for bike racing. It's why it's so popular in the country, because the landscape is just so generous when it comes to offering a perfect mosaic for these riders to weave in and out of. And now back to the front end of the main field. Still a lot of rolling terrain from here to the finish. And then, again, that final kilometer could really provide a very animated, dynamic end to this stage number 5.
Look at that. That is Serpa on the front with a bandage over the eye, blood on the face. He has gone down, and he's back to the front doing the work for Scarponi. This man is a true trooper, as he is still making it happen here for his team leader.
There's your cycling poster for an early season race. Climbing in the snow, bandage, blood, suffering, cold. That's what it's all about in terms of this part of the season.
Well, it's really, really tough to not only get back into the group, but then go to the front like that after you've had not only your confidence rattled, but your bones rattled as you hit the deck.
There's a move off the front as well. It looks like it might have been an Astana rider who's launching off the front end of the main field with just under 19K to go, and that is Enrico Gasparotto.
Aha, 2 days in a row. We saw him going for it yesterday. He was unsuccessful in his bid to try and get from the field up to the break of a few guys. Let's see what he has in his legs today.
Well, he obviously has had good legs these last couple of days because of that move that we saw yesterday, and now this move that he's making here today on stage number 5. 30 seconds, the difference to the head of the race from where Gasparotto is right now. Enrico Gasparotto will turn 28 years of age a week from tomorrow. Last year with Lampre, he went winless the entire year, so looking to start out his first season with Astana on much better footing. That's why he's been attacking so far in this 7-day event in Italy. And not much of a response from the main field right now. Gasparotto 144 down on the general classification.
What's got to happen here for Gasparotto and Oroz, who's a little further up the road, is Gasparotto has to have the punch to make it up there quick so they don't both linger without being able to work together. And then they need to settle in and get very serious together, trading off on the pace. Remember, when you're climbing, the drafting is not such a big deal. But once you hit the flats and the downhill, the guy sitting in second wheel is working about 1/3 less hard. So it makes all the difference, and that's why we always see the group lined up like this.
And the blue jersey of the overall race leader is back within the parameters of these riders right here. Michele Scarponi wearing the overall blue jersey that signifies the race leader this year at Tirreno Adriatico.
That's still Kirienka on the front. You'd think he'd be tired after yesterday's effort where he cracked huge in the last couple of kilometers and he was in the breakaway all day, but he's still up there. And we see it's still Gasparotto on the right, chasing on the left Oroz, who's still just a few seconds in front of him. So I also like to point out that yellow station wagon with all the bikes on the roof again, because that car is the one that services anybody out there. They follow the breakaway, and it's called neutral support. So if the team does not have one of their cars with the brake, if someone in the brake gets a mechanical, a crash, has a flat tire, those guys are there to save the day.
Some of the math that's involved here, from the head of the race to the chaser and back to the main field, all separated by just about a half-minute right now, as Gasparotto is closing in on J.J. Oroz of the Euskaltel team. Gasparotto, former Italian national road champion from 5 years ago, did spend 2 days in the Maglia Rosa overall race leader's jersey at the Giro 3 years ago in 2007. So he does have some pretty significant credits on his portfolio. But now hunting down a stage win here at Tirreno Adriatico. And this man firmly in his sights right now.
Well, he's already been off the front for a little bit, so you would assume that Gasparotto has a little bit more snap to get across, and then they can settle in. They still have just under almost 17K to go at this point, so it's really not very far to the finish. And these guys, you know, something could happen here. They could get lucky.
Are you surprised we haven't seen more moves come out of the main field?
You know, Steve, based on what we saw yesterday, 8 seconds separating our first two riders right now, but based on what we saw yesterday, I think it most likely is going to come down to the final 2 kilometers where there's that massive 800-meter, just almost a vertical wall there that they're going to have to tackle. And I have a feeling people are going to save it for there.
Well, still keeping things in check. The main field not letting these two, Gasparotto and Oroz, getting too far down the road as we go under 17 kilometers remaining to the finish in the town of Colmerano today. A 216-kilometer stage started in Chieti, which was the finish town of yesterday's stage, and now Gasparotto getting onto the back wheel of J.J. Oroz here. So these two are together, and will they work as one now? We will see.
Well, little conversation there as Gasparotto comes right on by, and it looks like they are going to slot in here together.
Well, Gasparotto takes over the lead. J.J. Oroz settles in behind him, and now 2 riders at the front with just about 16.5 kilometers left to go on stage number 5. Tirreno Adriatico rolls on stage 5. Steve Schlanger, Todd Gogulski inside the final 15 kilometers. These are the 2 leaders, J.J. Oroz in the orange of Euskaltel, and behind him it is Enrico Gasparotto, the Italian for Astana. and coming up on an intermediate sprint right now. But these two are thinking about a stage win and trying to stay away from the main field here at the end of a tough day of climbing. Earlier today, the race went over its highest point at this year's edition of the Race of the Two Seas. It was in excess of 5,000 feet. That came just beyond 160 kilometers into the stage. This is the second of 3 consecutive days of pretty serious climbing before the final day. Stage 7 will be mostly flat. So if you're a GC hopeful, any aspirations of finishing near the top of the standings, it's these final 14K of today's stage 5 and also tomorrow's relatively short stage 6. That's where you have to make your move and state your case.
Now, I certainly would have to look at these two riders right now, Steve, and say that Juanjo Oroz is very happy that Gasparotto has come up to him, because really he needed somebody to work with. He wasn't going to be able to do it on his own. They look a lot faster now that there's two guys, and because they get that recovery. When one guy's on the front, you can sit back, you can drink, you can eat, and you can get a little bit of less wind in your face.
This is the main field behind, and several different teams scattered across the front there. Not a serious chase right now.
No, they really are not looking very organized at this point. You know, this part of the reason we're not seeing a very organized chase right here is because the two men off the front, Oroz 53 seconds down and Gasparotto 1 minute 44 seconds down in the overall. So if they don't catch them, it doesn't really change the very top standings of the bike race. I'm not saying they're not going to catch them, but it's not as critical on those days where these guys are not the biggest threats of the day.
Maybe a little lackluster after losing an hour of sleep with the time change last night.
I don't think they do that over there.
That's us. Well, in front now, Gasparotto leading the way and settling in behind the Euskaltel rider JJ Oroz.
Well, Liquigas coming to the front for the first time that we've seen here today, and Gasparotto now making a little bit of a move here on this downhill. Kind of surprising to me. I think maybe Oroz just got a little bobbly in a turn there and lost a little time.
Now, not really concerned with the intermediate sprint points right now. It's all about the stage win with just over a dozen kilometers left to go. But it's not a flat run-in. Again, you have that big uphill in the final kilometers. Really, it's the last 750 meters where it's a real kicker, about 15%, and tops out at 20%. So these guys spending a lot of energy right now, Oroz and Gasparotto. So will they have enough in their legs to hold off this main field, which is not that far behind, and at the rate they're going to be moving, it'll be very easily for them to swarm those two if they can't keep up a pretty high tempo in the final 1,000 meters.
And we've seen this gap continuing to hover around 30 seconds back here. And so really this group not letting them get too far. That's Agnoli on the front, the Italian for Liquigas, and back up here to the break now. This guy's still looking very smooth, Steve. No signs of these guys cracking. I really think for these guys, it's going to come down to, do they have anything left when they hit that wall at the end? Because that's when you have to dig so deep, when guys back in the group behind have been sitting in. Who have we not seen on the front? We haven't seen Scarponi. We haven't seen Garzelli. We haven't seen Michael Rogers. We haven't seen Cadel Evans. All those big hitters are just nestled in here drafting. They've got other guys, lieutenants if you will, on the front doing the chasing for them.
And still no one single team bringing everybody to the front to chase with 11 kilometers left to go. That's why it's important for the two riders who are at the front of the race on your left to work well together to try and conserve as much energy as possible, because they know they're going to need it. They may fight it out amongst themselves if they get the opportunity, but they both realize that they need each other right now in order to be fresh at the end. Rather fight it out amongst themselves than have to battle everybody else who we see right now that's trying to reel them in.
So just about 7 miles to go here in the bike race. This thing's winding down pretty fast. We should start keeping our eyes open.
Gasparotto right here, Oroz alongside the two leaders on stage number 5. Sunny skies but chilly temperatures as they try to bring it home with a final 10K. It's one of Italy's biggest stage races, Tirreno Adriatico, and we're inside the final 10 kilometers of stage number 5 with 2 leaders, JJ Oroz and Enrico Gasparato, out in front of the main field. There is Gasparato right there for Astana, Oroz of Euskaltel right behind him in the orange.
You can see just how rough and nasty the pavement is here as the weather in the winter has just battered these roads, and it's really only 9 kilometers to go for these guys right now, but these bumpy climbs are actually hard. This is very interesting. 42 seconds, that board. That is what's telling these guys, if the radio is not working, how far it is back to the group. And in fact, before they had radios in their ear, that was the only way they could know what their gap was.
Now, at this year's Tirreno Adriatico, 3 flat stages, 3 climbing stages, 1 moderate stage. That's the composition of the 7 days of racing that we have here. Today's stage 5, tomorrow stage 6, a much shorter stage than today's 216-kilometer affair, but more climbing to be had before the flat finale in stage number 7. This is a select group of riders at the front end of the main field. No one team, again, doing the bulk of the work the way we've seen in earlier stages of this race. Riders from various teams coming to the front and realizing that time is slowly running out, ticking under 9K left.
Well, Aqua Sapone there with Garzelli in the middle of your screen. His teammate coming up on the right of your screen saying, do you need me to start going? And Garzelli says yes. So once again, Aqua Sapone very much driving the pace here. They seem to be probably the most motivated over the last handful of kilometers, but no team really taking control of the chase. Our 2 leaders are not stronger than everybody else, but their advantage here is they're going to be smooth. They're going to continue to go very smooth all the time and never let their pace slow down. That's the only chance they have to stay away.
Now Gasparato looking very good. He bridged across to Oroz several kilometers ago, the Astana rider, in a break yesterday, and now helping to lead the race at this moment.
Well, just moments ago, I had a chance to speak with the Astana manager, Lorenzo La Paz, about the chances of Enrico Gasparato staying away here all the way to the finish. This is what he had to say.
Yes, like I said, the last 10K is not so hard anymore. They just passed now the last intermediate sprint, and Gasparato is a guy when he comes to the sprint, to the finish with a small group with 5-6 riders. He's always one of the fastest guys. So I think he has his chance to come to the finish, because in the overall, he's not really close for the moment. So I think the top 5 guys will look to each other who's going to do the work, and that can be his chance. So we believe in it.
Well, Steve, it really, he's pretty much echoing what we were thinking here as well, is that because those guys are a little bit down in the overall classification, 53 seconds for Oroz, 144 for Gasparato, the chase is not quite as spirited, and that's maybe giving them a better chance to survive.
Well, knowing they have that very striking uphill finish in the final kilometer, what kind of a gap are they going to want to have over the main field of time when they get to that part of the course?
You know, it's amazing, like the explosiveness we saw yesterday with Michele Scarpone. They're going to need 45 seconds for sure to hang on, and that's if they have good legs. If they don't have good legs, they're going to need more than a minute. And so it's really going to come down to who's got what left in the engine.
Now they're right on that bubble in terms of time right now, a 40-second lead, closing in on 6 kilometers remaining, and really just 5 until the road starts to go up in earnest towards the finish line.
Yeah, it's funny. You wonder, you know, people say, well, it seems so predictable sometimes. Well, why is it that the breakaway is always so close to making it, but you never know if it's going to make it? And that's because it's a long race. It's 6 hours in the saddle, and so everybody's riding this tactical game out there, and they're using their energy wisely. They're thinking about what is left to come and what they've already gone through and how other people look. And so they're always trying to time it to make it work for them at the end.
And this isn't a typical let the break go, catch them at the end type of stage with the type of uphill finish that we have. It really changes the dynamic, because that can slow things down a lot if you're not feeling good.
Well, and we just saw that Aqua Sapone brought 8 seconds back from 40, now down to 32. So things are looking not so good for our 2 leaders here. These guys really are on the bubble.
Half a minute separating them from the main field. 5 kilometers left to race on stage number 5.
It's only 3.1 miles. It's not very far, but look at Aqua and Sapone still really riding hard. And remember the big difference here. Aqua and Sapone on the front riding hard, Garzelli second, but all these guys sitting in the draft. Only the man in the front is really using up everything he has. When he blows up, he just swings off and lets his teammates do the rest. These two guys off the front, they cannot blow up. They have to pull and pull again. And now we're back in the caravan right now. This is Rigoberto Urán, and he is actually the second rider there with the jacket on. He's actually coming into the day in 5th place overall, and he's the best young rider with the white jersey. So he's had some trouble. He's trying to get back up to that group.
Now, strategically, you have to believe that some of the GC guys are going to make a move, launch an attack, do something, because there's only one true day of climbing left to go. That's tomorrow, and we're coming up on a big climb at the end of the stage in the final kilometer here. 4K to go overall, so you think they're going to have to make a move at some point.
They definitely are, Steve, and we see Urán here getting some mechanical service from the car, and that's perfectly legit. And, well, sometimes they stretch it a little bit. There's a mechanic now working on the Euskaltel rider as well, and they can push them as they're doing that, and they tend to fudge the rules a little bit when they do that.
As far as the GC guys go, even if they don't get a stage win, to get some time on Scarponi, to maybe get up amongst these two, steal some bonus seconds that are available at the finish line, that's what they need.
That's right, and tomorrow is another tough day where there are circuits at the end and there's an uphill finish. So it's today and tomorrow, and look at this, another big group making its way back up. They've clawed their way up, and now it looks like our front group is going to almost double in size.
As far as Michele Scarponi, the overall race leader, he has to be feeling pretty good about the way today has transpired.
Yeah, he really does. These guys, they could have been taking a lot of pot shots at him here through this flatter section of the course. The gap now gone back up to 40 seconds, so back and forth here with our 2 leaders, and it's all Aqua and Sapone on the front of the chase. They have 5 riders up there, full of them pulling for Garzelli.
Now Garzelli finished second to Scarponi last year, and Garzelli really running out of opportunities in races as he'll turn 37 years of age this July. So to win more races at home on Italian soil like this one, he really needs to be attentive and selective about when he uses his energy, makes his moves, and now by the looks of things, he's setting up for something here.
This is Rigoberto Urán again that we just saw back in the caravan. That white jersey being the best young rider, and also one we haven't seen today, Daniele Benatti leading the points, and our mountains leader has been Diego Caccia, but we haven't seen him either.
2.5K left to go for these two. Trying to hang on. The lead is half a minute, so it's sort of yo-yoed over the course of 10 seconds.
All right.
Up to 40, back to 30 now.
Well, there's Michele Scarponi, and right now the nerves have to be totally frayed in this group because they are just about to hit that 800-meter wall, and let me tell you, it is steep, and they are going to feel it. I don't care how good you are. It's going to blow that group to pieces. And they have started the bottom of the hill here. Gasparotto still on the front. Let's see if they have enough to hang on to the finish.
You see in the background, no riders coming up just quite yet. Here is the main field. 2K remaining to the line. Aqua Sapone at the front. Some Astana riders not too far off the pace here. This is the front end of the group containing overall race leader Michele Scarponi.
Still Garzelli's second wheel there in the red jersey, and well, everybody thinking that he's got to try and do something big today. A couple of Sky riders behind him. These are our 2 leaders. The gap coming down now 29 seconds. And let's look back here and see what's happening in the chase.
Almost looks to be less than 29, at least from the visual.
That's Nibali, 4th wheel there. That's Manuela Mori in the Lampre colors of the blue and the fuchsia sleeves.
Still waiting for any kind of an attack from the main field right now. It's been pretty much status quo with these two leading the race. The main field staying together for the last several kilometers.
Our two leaders looking still fairly solid. They do not have a big gap, but nothing happening behind, and that's exactly what they need. Look at this. Oro's just now starting to pop. Gasparotto making a little bit of a gap. This is Mori from Lampre. He has made the move. Let's see if he can get up to Gasparotto.
Now finally somebody launching a move here at the end of the race. And Mori trying to bridge across, and look at this. It's the Euskaltel rider, Oroz, who is popped. Gasparotto hanging on, trying to ride away from him. The main field hunting them down, just seconds behind now. And look at how things are starting to fracture behind our race leaders.
Well, Mori not getting anywhere, right on the front. That's Pozzovivo on the Colnago team. We are right here on the back wheel of Mori, but the field just a couple wheels behind, and it looks like slow motion because this is very, very steep.
It's a battle with gravity at this point. And Mori not going away from this group that contains Cadel Evans. He was just in the background there. We could see him, and Gasparotto up here weaving back and forth, rocking on his bike. He is really suffering as these guys are pulling him back. Evans in the middle of the screen there.
So it's Pozzovivo in blue, then behind him, it's Garzelli in red, behind him, Scarponi, the race leader. There's Evans with the horizontal world's champion stripe sitting in fifth wheel. Nothing happening yet. They have just picked up Oroz. It is still the Italian on the front of the chase, Pozzovivo. Scarponi looking very solid on the right side of your screen. Nobody doing anything. Amazing.
There's Cadel Evans right in the middle of the screen there, now off to the right.
Here we go. This looks like it could be Garzelli. Yes, it is. Garzelli has jumped. He has jumped. They're very close to the top.
Garzelli making the move to go and bring back the race leader, Gasparotto of Astana. The Acqua Saponi rider, former Giro d'Italia winner, Stefano Garzelli, trying to bridge across, and he looks pretty good.
It is Gasparotto desperately trying to hold on here. There's another Astana rider trying to come up from behind there. And there's
Cadel Evans. Maxim Aglinski is one of the other Astana riders who has made the select group, but Cadel Evans getting into the mix here.
Look how close they are, and it looks like Gasparotto has managed to reach deep inside to get onto Scarponi here.
Now Stefano Garzelli.
Garzelli. So that is a big, hard thing to do, and it is two now chasing two.
Now with Maxim Aglinski on the wheel of Cadel Evans here. It looks like it's going to be a group of four as they go under the red kite with 1 kilometer left to go. That is Garzelli, Gasparotto out front. Third position, Cadel Evans. Maxim Aglinski riding in fourth position here.
A very good setup right now for Astana because both of their guys are out of the wind and sitting on another wheel. Cadel Evans bringing Aglinski up. Let's see what happens. Does anybody go on the attack?
Well, they're looking around. Cadel Evans is out of the saddle. He's made the move. Right-hand side of the road. The world champion launching an attack, trying to pull away for a stage win here and trying to take back time on the overall race leader, Scarponi, who is not in this move.
It's a slight uphill all the way to the finish. Evans still has the throttle wide open. Aglinski on his wheel. It's Garzelli third and Gasparotto fourth with 500 meters to go.
Cadel Evans out front right now. Trying to keep the pace high, but all four are together. As far as pure sprinters, Enrico Gasparotto is the best sprinter among these four, but he was out front by himself for a long time today. Does he have it in his legs to outsprint the other three?
Evans here looking like he's not really going for a stage win. He's just trying to get time on the TC.
Gasparotto's made the move. Right-hand side of your screen, the Astana rider, Enrico Gasparotto, going to try to outsprint the other three. 50 meters to go. Gasparotto gunning it to the line, and he has plenty of time to celebrate a stage 5 win as he crosses the line.
Incredible courage for Gasparotto after being caught there late in the race. It looks like Nibali leading him through for 5th place. Another select group just about 11, 12 seconds back. And that climb, though it was short, really broke things up.
Well, what we do know is that Cadel Evans and Stefano Garzelli will gain some time on the overall general classification. So that'll make things interesting when we check the standings, but Enrico Gasparotto gets the stage win in Colmorano today in stage 5 at Tirreno Adriatico. With his former team Lampre a year ago, Enrico Gasparotto picks up his first win for his new Astana squad this year in stage 5 at Tirreno Adriatico. His teammate Maxim Oglinski celebrating along with him, as Gasparotto was in a break late, was able to hold on, and he gets the win ahead of Garzelli, Oglinski, and Evans, the four who came to the line together. And Stefano Garzelli gets some bonus time as a result, and he gains time on the general classification. Garzelli launching a solo move inside the final kilometers to help his cause.
Well, here we are inside the final kilometer. That's Cadel Evans, the world champion, with the world champion stripes, as he brings up Oglinski to our lead duo of riders. First, we see Enrico Gasparotto move to the right. Cadel Evans punches it through and says, I'm going for all the way here, after he looks back, just to see how much these guys are paying attention. Oglinski right on his wheel, but look at how Evans, the world champion from Australia, even opens it up with Oglinski on his wheel. He can't quite stay on, and that is Scarponi, or Garzelli, chasing very hard, trying to make it up to close that gap, as Evans trying to gain valuable time on all the GC men, but Garzelli does make it up to the wheel. This sets up for the sprint. And as we just saw a moment ago, from the back, it is going to be Enrico Gasparotto jumping first and having a lot more pop than anybody else. This is still a little bit uphill all the way to the line. Evans right now really burning. And we're about to see Gasparotto pop around the left side. Here he comes, and even nobody with a response to that. As look at him opening up a couple bike length gap. He has plenty of time to even look back over his shoulder here. See three guys well accounted for, celebrating well in advance of the line.
The former Italian national road champion wins the stage in Nicole Morano, and the general classification still finds Michele Scarponi up top. His lead has been trimmed, however. He's got a 10-second advantage on Stefano Garzelli now, and 15 on Maxim Oglinski. So Scarponi wears the overall race leader's blue jersey for another day, but more climbing upcoming on stage 6.
Yeah, tough circuits. They're going to see 4 times finishes on the top of that climb, and Scarponi and his team are going to have another tough day tomorrow.
Michele Scarponi, 2 days away from back-to-back titles at Tirreno Adriatico. And now for Todd Gogulski, I'm Steve Schlanger. So long, and we'll see you again tomorrow.